It's been said that comparison is the thief of joy. One of the areas where humans feel some insecurity is around grief. We think our pain must be worse, my loss is unfathomable, or we diminish ourselves. That person's loss is so much worse. My mother lived into her 90s. I don't get to be too sad. Hey, Rue, we're actually going to keep it closed for a bit if you don't mind. Thanks, bud. My mother lived into her 90s. I don't get to be too sad. And when bad things happen to good people, Rabbi Harold Kushner shares an old Chinese tale about the intersection of jealousy and grief. It features a mustard seed, but don't worry, the story works whether you eat kitniot on Pesach or not. Here's the story. It's about a woman whose only son had died. In her grief, she went to the holy man and said, "What prayers, what magical incantations do you have to bring my son back to life?" Instead of sending her away or reasoning with her, he said to her, "Fetch me a mustard seed from a home that has never known sorrow. We'll use it to drive the sorrow out of your life." The woman set off at once in search of that magical mustard seed. She came first to a splendid mansion, knocked at the door, and said, "I'm looking for a home that has never known sorrow. Is this such a place?" "It is very important to me." They told her, "You've certainly come to the wrong place," and began to describe all of the things that had recently befallen them. The woman said to herself, "Who is better able to help these poor, unfortunate people than I, who have had misfortune of my own?" She stayed to comfort them, and then went on a search for a home that had never known sorrow. But wherever she turned, hovels or palaces, she found one tale after another of sadness and misfortune. Ultimately, she became so involved in the ministering to other people's grief that she forgot about her quest for the magical mustard seed, never realizing that, in fact, it had driven the sorrow out of her life. Yizkor is the Jewish equivalent of a grieving mustard seed party, I think. We each show up with our disparate mustard seeds, each of us hurt, and who can blame us for wanting our pain to go away? I bring a seed for my father, and now another for my sister. You carry a mustard seed for your spouse, or your mother, or your child. Some of us have accumulated little bags of seeds and notice that they are heavier than we might have expected them to be. We, each of us who know loss, might think our seed is the heaviest, that others must have it easier, or that no one could possibly understand what it feels like to miss someone so much. Yizkor honors our individuality, the unique relationship that we had with our honored dead. We say a prayer in their name, each of us specifically. One person might recall her father's laugh. Another might miss the smell of his bubby's brisket baking in the oven. One of you might be remembering their big brother's embrace, or the way he teased you when you thought that pork came from a porcupine, or pencils came from Pennsylvania. Those are my memories. All those memories are bound up in these little mustard seeds that we carry with us to shul today. When we come to shul at Yizkor, when we confront an important truth, that none of us has a home devoid of sorrow. Each of us knows loss, and that collective knowing is our strength. Indeed, it's our path to healing. Because if there's anything harder than grieving, it's doing it alone. Yizkor says that you don't have to do it alone. Yizkor reminds us that there's a God who can be a porter for our pain. Yizkor assures us that there's a community to prop us up when we're most vulnerable. Yizkor is an invitation to stand shoulder to shoulder and remember. No one comes to us from a home that has never known sorrow, says Kushner. They come to help us because they too know what it feels like to be hurt by life. Anguish and heartbreak may not be distributed evenly throughout the world, but they are distributed very widely. So come stand with us in your loss, in the warmth of your embrace, or the warmth of your remembrance. Stand with us in your pain. Come stand with us in service to the lives that they left behind. Come stand for what they stood for, so that each of us might stand more firmly on our own 2 feet.